Okay, we're live. Take it away, Edgar.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Edgar Villanueva, Vice President of Programs and Advocacy at the Schott Foundation for Public Education. Hello to all of our grantees and partners. I'm joined today by Patrick St. John, our Communications Director. We're really happy that you signed on to learn more about the National Opportunity to Learn Network and the community, the digital community that we are launching today. Sorry for my computer making a lot of noise while I'm talking. So just a little bit of background information about why we're really excited to share this, this tool with you guys. So at Schott, we have housed the National Opportunity to Learn Network for over 5 years now. And essentially our network has grown to over 40,000 members now. And so what we do for the network at this point in time is a bi-weekly newsletter where we highlight resources, share updates from the movement. And then we do a lot of work behind the scenes, you know, connecting folks, networking. We often convene and facilitate meetings as a part of our work at Schott. And so we were hearing from you all that we needed additional tools and capacity to strengthen our networking across the movement. At Schott, we're working with partners in California who are working to increase funding for public schools. We've also worked with folks in Pennsylvania who are working on similar campaigns. And we were, you know, we saw that often in many cases, people don't know each other. And so what we did was an assessment, and we had a lot of conversations with folks around what could we build that would help facilitate relationship building and the sharing of resources in a way that was safe and secure among trusted partners in our network. And so what we are happy to share with you all today is the result of that work, this digital community that we want to offer as a resource to you all. We have worked with a small number of partners to beta test this. We think we've gotten all of the bugs out, and we've really tried to make this user-friendly and something that will accelerate your advocacy and campaign efforts. So thank you for joining. We hope that you find the information useful and that you find this platform, you know, really also useful to your work. So Patrick, I'll kick it over to you to begin walking us through the platform. Thank you all.
Okay, thanks, Edgar. So like Edgar said, one of the reasons why we wanted to build this is, you know, we've certainly heard from our grantees and other allies in the movement that especially not only in the wake of in the past few years, what the education organizing landscape is and the larger social justice organizing landscape, there's a demand for something that is a little more private, a little more focused on the, you know, absolute issues in hand. A lot of people will just sort of piggyback on, say, Facebook or Twitter to do actual like nuts and bolts organizing internally. And, you know, we were hearing from a lot of folks that it wasn't a great platform for it because it really wasn't designed for it. So one of the things, you know, we wanted to do when we built this is say, you know, from your perspective, what are the kind of features and kind of community building resources we can put into play to make this work? So as you'll see when I share my screen, this is really, it is going to look a bit like Facebook. It's going to look a bit like Twitter. There are going to be some commonalities in terms of you know, the kind of social network platforms you're familiar with, which will hopefully help with, you know, any sort of learning curve. But it also sort of taps onto those functions that people do find useful, but we can present that in a more curated way, one that focuses on issues of advocacy and policy, specifically around education. So give me 1 second and I'll share our screen and I can show you what this all looks like. Okay, great. So when each of you gets an account, which as I sent in my email to y'all, you'll be receiving that after this webinar. This is going to be the homepage you're presented with. In some ways, this is going to feel like Facebook, like I said. So if you scroll down, this is a feed of other people who are posting things, different people's activity. But really, there are three major ways to interact with this site and three major ways you can coordinate activities, collaborate, share, and hopefully you know, we can help build the kind of connections that'll grow our movements. You can see these along the first three links at the top of the screen. The first one is the library. So we've built out a library that allows people to not only publish, say, for example, reports that you've produced. So just the other day, I put up our new Grading the States report that we did with NPE. But we've also built this so these can be non-public facing resources. So for example, if we were to click on tactics and strategies, we have one piece that's about school walk-ins. So this is something that's not designed for the public, but it's something that is a useful way to start a discussion around things that advocates are doing, in the streets, in the communities, and allow people to comment, to start discussions, to build these this kind of discourse around what's going to be the most effective thing to do in your community. So it's a pretty straightforward thing to add to. You can click Submit a Resource, and you'll get to a pretty straightforward submission page. You type in a title, a brief description, a longer one if you like. Describe what kind of resource it is. If you come across a resource you want to put up and it doesn't really fit in anything, you can choose other, but you could also contact us. We can add another category if need be. Who it's by, if there's a set author. Tags, if, for example, you want to tag this as school discipline or say education funding. And then you can choose how people can get to the resource. So if you have a link or a PDF you can upload or both, this will allow you to do that. And then all you have to do is submit. So what we're looking for here is, like I said, resources that you and your organizations or allied organizations have put out that you think are really of crucial importance, that can really help drive the conversation and drive organizing and advocacy around education justice. So that's the first big section. Next up is people. And this is also going to look a little Facebooky. So you can check out your profile. And what we encourage you to do is, as soon as you get in, take a look at your profile. You'll be able to see that on any page right on the right-hand side and click on it to get there. If you click on Edit, you're able to add your name, organization, what your role is, add a bio if you like. You can also upload a profile photo and a cover image if you want. So this orange area, for example, is the default cover image that you can add in. You can also message people. So if you want to, for example, find someone in the member directory, say I want to send a message to Edgar over the network, I can send a public message, which is essentially like on Facebook or Twitter. If you tag somebody in it, you can post that. That'll show up on your page, and Edgar will get a notification saying that you sent a public message. You can also send a private message, which is just like any internal messaging mechanism. Compose it. You can also add additional people to this if you want, and then you can hit send. And then it's sent. And then this conversation will be available to you under sent. So one of the things that we're encouraging people to do is not only to add these library items, but also find people who are, in similar sections in terms of the movement you're doing, that you're building. This could be people who are working on education funding, but they're in a different state. Or they're organizing in maybe the next city over, but on a different issue. The member section will be where you can start to make these connections. You'll also be able to search them. The third section, and this is, I think, the most important one, is groups. So if folks are familiar with Facebook groups, you can create them, you can invite people to them, add people to them, and then you can have discussions based on whatever the topic is in here. So we've populated this with a few sample groups so far. So fundraising, education funding, so talking about funding for public schools, school discipline reform, school privatization, gender justice, youth organizing and leadership, sustainable community schools. We've also got a help and assistance group for people who need to leave a comment. You know, some feature's not working and you want to post it there, you can do that there. So for example, if we were to go into school discipline reform, you see it has a similar kind of profile as an individual's, but below that is a custom feed that people can add to. So we can see that Mariana joined it, Edgar posted an update, I posted an update yesterday. And then what I can do is add a comment to any specific post. So we can say, you know, that was a great webinar. Any post. So we can have threaded conversations on these topics. One of the things that when we were talking to grantees about is, especially for people who are organizing across large areas, you know, they need a way, say for example, a nationwide day of action. People are going to need a spot to coordinate, to find out what other people are doing, and also to get ideas from other people, because we're all learning things at different stages, and it's important to make sure that these ideas percolate around. They just don't stay with your local. So this is one of the features that they had recognized as, you know, this could be useful for not only spreading the word and sharing our victories, but also helping us develop new strategies and tactics. Inside the group, you can take a look at the members. If you click on manage, you can, you know, if you've created the group, you can change some of the settings, the photo, take a look at the members. And if we go back to groups, the straightforward way to add that is simply to click on create a group at the top. This will allow you to create a new one. We could, for example, say Grand Community Partnerships. Learn about community partnerships. So we click on create a group. You have some privacy options. Now, the OTL network itself is designed to be private. This is an invite-only platform. We're not going to be opening this up to everybody and anybody. This is designed to be tailored for you. However, among this smaller audience, you can set this up as a public group. So anybody can see it. If they look on the groups page, they're going to be able to see it even if they're not a member. And they can take a look at it and look inside and see the content even if they're not a member. Another option is a private group. So people can see the listing, but unless you're a member, you cannot see what's going on inside. So people inside the group would have to approve a new member. And then the third option is a hidden group. So it's all the private features of the private group, only it's not even listed on the group's directory itself. So people will have to be affirmatively invited by members to join the group. That's the only way you'll see it. You can choose who's allowed to invite others. So it could be anybody who's in there. It could just be admins or admins and moderators. And if you have any questions about these roles, I can certainly go into that and we can chat about that offline. Generally speaking, unless this is super serious, generally speaking, we recommend all group members. So once they're in, you can invite others. And click next step. And then this is one of two ways to form a group. So the example I showed you was basically a sort of like, you know, the Facebook feed where people can just post things and then you can have threaded comments based on those posts. Another option would be to set this up as a forum. So if you're familiar with online discussion board forums, it's organized in a slightly different way. You have individual discussion threads that will be listed instead of something a bit more Facebook-like. So I'll check yes on this so you can see what that looks like. You can upload a photo. And you can upload a cover image. Great. So as you can see, this has your standard feed. You can say welcome to the group. But there's also this forum tab. So now this allows you to create a brand new topic for a structured comment thread, just like on any sort of online forums. So depending on the purpose of this group, if you have something very specific in mind, and this is something that we can also discuss together as you're planning on building this out, what format makes the most sense to you. Oftentimes, if you want a bunch of different concurrent discussions that are happening at the same time, say, for example, you're organizing something, an upcoming event that'll take place in cities all across the state of New York. Maybe you want a forum, so each individual city that has an event will have its own topic thread, which then we can all go through. People will be able to find quickly and navigate to, and then inside that, discuss what's going to happen. And just like with people, you can search groups as well. So these are really the three core features of the OTL network. In addition, we have the feedback option. So you can certainly feel free to send me an email. Just hit reply on that confirmation email that I sent you just a little bit ago. Or you can send a feedback through this form too, especially if it isn't super urgent, but it's something that would be good for us to know. Let's see. So one of the things that we're looking for in this second wave of beta testing is we'd love for you to kick the tires, take a look at the different functionalities, try them out, see what it looks like to incorporate this into your workflow, depending on what you're doing. Are you working on a policy report? Are you trying to organize parents for an upcoming school board meeting? Are you planning a visit the state capitol day with members from across the state? See how that would play out if you use this platform to help organize it. Is this something that you're going to find useful? Are there ways that we could reimagine this or change this that would make it more helpful or useful? Those are the kinds of feedback we really want. But the real test isn't so much the features. We could get the feature set 100% correct, and this still could not go anywhere. The real test will be whether or not we can build up something that's self-sustaining, a critical mass of people who are involved in it and taking part, that will then help move this from a simple tech platform to an actual community where we can all gain the benefits of what everybody else is doing, and as a result, which is the ultimate aim, in any case, to build a stronger education justice movement. I see the comment from Generation All. Great. Look forward to you guys using it. At this point, I'd love to see if there are any other questions that you have, any comments. This will be, I think, hopefully very, very useful. And if not, I think there are a lot of ways we can make sure that it is. One question that we've gotten in the past is around adding new people. So it's pretty straightforward to apply to register. But since this is an invite-only beta test and we're still trying to figure out questions of membership, if you want to add a large group of people, say a bunch of people at your workplace or members from other locals, definitely send us an email and we can get you all set up. We just want to make sure that this is still, sort of a curated member-only platform, just so we can have the conversations internally that we need to without fear of prying eyes. Great. Well, if there aren't any other questions or comments, we love to hear from you afterwards. So please, if you as you're exploring this, have a question or have a concern, please let us know. When I send out the email next, feel free to just hit reply if you have any questions or run into any roadblocks. Oh, okay, here's a few others. So Darcy says, what happens if you add a link to a comment on one of the groups? Does it bring in a preview like on social media? It does not pull up a preview yet. That's a functionality that we're going to try and load in as we can. But it's also one that takes up a lot of bandwidth. So we're going to see if we can make it work on the platform that we have. Ree Martin says, wonder if there's a space to upload documents, files for groups. Yes, great question. So if we go into groups, I'm going to labor community partnerships. You should be able to, let's see. So if you click on the forum and you create a new topic, you can add an attachment right there. Now, the question is then, how can you say post that elsewhere? So for example, to your own feed or in other groups. One thing you can do is, let's go to activity. So under the resource library, this is probably the primary way where we'd recommend you to add in a new document or file. And you can simply do that under library by clicking on submit a resource. One thing that we're going to try and work on is allow people to post documents and attachments elsewhere on the site. But as of right now, probably the best way to do that would be to add it as a resource. You could also simply upload it to, say, something like Google Docs or elsewhere, and then paste a link into. We've seen a lot of people do that too. Great. Are there any other questions?
Patrick, this is Edgar. Wanted to highlight some of the potential functionality that you touched on, but just some of the things that we've heard from folks that they're really excited about. One, for those of you who have multiple affiliates, so if you're a national organization and you have chapters or partners around the country, we can custom, build a groups page for you or meet with you offline to figure out how to use this platform to connect with your affiliates if you're not currently using some platform. So that's something that seems really exciting and helpful for a number of partners to have a place to sort of kind of gather and share resources online. Again, because of the security that this site provides outside of sort of the corporate, social sharing sites. We've also talked with folks about how this site can be a tool in helping you to build your base. Right now, that's not a function that is fully active because, again, we're only inviting folks by invitation only at this point, trying to keep security in place and testing out this platform just with our network of partners. But we are open to talking with you all and learning about how we can open this up at some point to the broader movement or, to the world to recruit members and put actions and those types of things across geographies, across issue areas in the platform. So that's another thing. There is the capacity to do petitions at some point from this site if that's something that folks are interested in. So this is a start, but there is capability in this tool to add on additional types of supports and resources as we're getting this off the ground.
Absolutely. And Ree also asks if there's any thoughts on making this into an app or connecting to Facebook. I don't think we'll be connecting to Facebook, but this site is also mobile friendly. So it's designed for you to be able to use this on your phone just as easy as any other app. Great. Are there any other questions? Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much for coming on. We're going to have a link to this video posted immediately afterwards. So if you need to go back and see, check again, how do you create a group? How do you upload things? How do you connect with other people? You'll be able to do that. And like we said earlier, feel free to email us, give us a call. We really want to make sure this platform works for both of you, both as individuals, but also as the larger groups and movements that we're all in. So thanks again so much, and we will all talk to you soon.